All right, hello and welcome. I'm nordus-mocwyl, and making its way through the network is the 409K Kelvin update. We're going to talk about how to make it through that thing. Good afternoon. We're going to take our time with this thing. So I'm going to upgrade my old ship, nordus-mocwyl. We're going to go from 410 to 409K. And so we're just going to watch that happen over here on the right. While that's happening, we'll chat about what's new in 409K. And then I'll give you tips for how to survive updates in general. You know, when there's a Kelvin update, if you have issues, this will be a really good reference point, and we'll be able to see the whole thing and troubleshoot things live. And we'll use that as an excuse to talk about what's new with 409K, which is actually pretty rad. The core team is doing some great things. So I'm going to give a recap, and this will probably just go at the beginning. So yeah, there's a new 409K. 409K is the new version of Urbit. The things that you need to know is soon there will be directed messaging. Actually, there is directed messaging, but we're going to unlock it for everybody. Directed messaging makes everything on the network go vroom vroom. It like speeds up everything, which is an awesome thing, except for we have these problems of too much pointless stuff being sent across the network. And so if everything's sped up, it would actually cause huge problems. 409K actually plugs up this issue, puts in place a much more reasonable flow so that quiets down. 409K is going to quiet the network so that we can speed it up later with directed messaging turned on for everybody. We also have stateful UrWASM. So not only now we can run pre-existing libraries to speed up development, make a minimal set of jets to make those things run fast. Now, if we close it out, we don't lose whatever we were processing with UrWASM. Now it is stateful, so we're not going to lose any work that we've done just because we turned off an Urbit. We also get performance monitoring, and we get quick boot. All right. Let's get nordus-mocwyl going. First, I'm gonna let people know I have responsibilities, right? Like my ship, nordus-mocwyl, is host to other Urbiters, so I am going to let them know. I'm going to let them know that I'm going to be offline for a little bit. So let me go to the group on Talon and tell the people that I'm hosting that it might be a while. Let's see, to give you a little bit of context, you might hear my new baby in the background. It's a sleepy time. We've got cats meowing, dogs all around. Cool. Okay, so I host home. So I have a guitar course that I'm serving from my Urbit, and this is the group that they're in. So I'm gonna let them know they might not be able to have access to it for a little bit. Hey y'all, I'm updating nordus-mocwyl to 409K right now. Okay, I'll give that a little bit of a beat. Yeah. Next, so the thing that we need to do to initiate the 410 to 409K, or at least the next thing that I need to do, is go into the dojo and run this bar bump. And I could do that here in Hawk, because Hawk is awesome. So I can connect to dojo, which is, if you're unfamiliar, it's the terminal. So how I can talk to my Urbit. Let's see. And so I could run bar bump right here. And what we would get, let's take a look at, okay. I'm going to ask to take a look at the base desk, which is like the core of your Urbit. And there's like an option to see more than just the basic thing. So this is the option verb. Also, my Urbit has a problem where it's double printing things. So, you know what? That's too much information. Let's cool it on the information. VATS. I don't know what VATS stands for, but it tells me what's going on with a desk. So this section here, I can tell that my base desk, like basically my Urbit, is on 410. So the Kelvin version is 410, 410K. This is a hash of what it looks like, so I can double check and know that I've got the right thing in case somebody's trying to pass it off as a different thingy thing. And I have a pending update. So this is my source ship. So this is where I get my update 4x, and I'm going to try to upgrade to 409. And so when you're in this state where you got a pending update, all it would take is running bar bump and then the whole process will get started. I think I could try to make that happen, and if nothing goes wrong, it should be good. But I'm going to go to the Earthside version of this, SSH into my server, and get over to the screen over here. So this is more my Earthside, directly talking to the server, and we can see what might go wrong there. I'm going to start a clock whenever I do hit the bar bump so that we can just see how long it goes, because I'll probably edit out some things and we'll just see if we can actually get this in real time. I'm also going to make a prediction right here. And that prediction is we're going to need to run bar suspend desk. So there's going to be other desks that's going to block our update, and we'll have to like restart the process, maybe even a couple times. Okay, here we go. Start the clock in 3, 2. Is that really your sound? What's with it? Sounds like a tiny elephant with a cold. Super cute. About 1 month old today. All right, in 3, 2, 1, start the clock. All right, so, okay. Get our bearings with what we see here. Because that went pretty fast. Okay. So we ran it. I don't know if you can hear that. It's still going. Gall is going to stop a couple things. And it's going to save some things. These are all desks, which are also known as apps. And so now that's the long part. So once everything is stopped, Arvo is going to start the upgrade because it was already downloaded. So it's compiling it, and then it's parsing it, and that's going to just take a bit. All right. Oh, and it compiled. It took 44 seconds. Now it is recompiling Hoon. So it takes actual, like the language Hoon, and it redoes it all. So Hoon's at 136. It's also Kelvining down, parsing, compiling. Okay. While that's happening, this picture, I was going to show this as context. So before I started to get an update from my sponsor, Forex. So this is the star that I am getting my updates from. And I downloaded it before. So I have started to download the update, finished downloading the update. And then when it got it, it ended up waiting for the Kelvin, and we were in that same state. But yeah, that happened automatically. So getting the downloading 409 just happened automatically because Forex got 409 and then pushed it down to me. Okay, and now we've done some parsing and compiling. Arvo's loading, so fresh new Urbit. Okay, what's new with 409K? So 409K is exciting because maybe not like directly what was added, but because of it's laying the groundwork for making Urbit faster, less noisy, more reliable. I guess it actually succeeds in making it less noisy, as in like less things happening. But anyways, first, here's how you take a look. So if you go to github.com/Urbit/Urbit, you can see the release notes. Oh man, this is there's a lot going on here. Metamorphosis, the kernel is being updated, rebuilding base after kernel update. This takes a while, rebuilding the base, or at least it has in the past. So here on Urbit/Urbit in GitHub, you can go to the releases. And here you have the list of all the releases. 409K is the latest, released December 10th, 2025. So I'm about a month behind. This is January 11th. And remember the hash that we got to see earlier? That is looking at this hash right there. Do I have a way of looking at it? This little hash here, that last little digits, that's how you kind of verify, like, okay, I have the same thing because the hash came out to the same. Yeah, this release actually tells you all the things that you need to know. Period does a good job here. Does a good job of describing what's great about it. Also describes breaking changes. So if you're a developer, like this list will tell you whether or not you can say that your app is compatible with 409K or not. And so if it breaks, it's it's because of these reasons in here. And then you get the like kind of nitty gritty. You get to see what everybody is working on, like fast boot. Fast boot's a big deal. I don't have that on my list. Spin hint, all these, and you get to see who worked on it, and maybe we'll click on that in a second. But yeah, that's it. Let's with its own words. Yeah. So one of the big things is the Kick-Resub Loop that gets fixed in this. So I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, the network has constantly been under heavy load since soon after software distribution released. This is because when a ship pokes ship B, the poke will keep trying forever until the ship B installs the agent being poked. This is true even if a ship A has long since suspended or even nuked the agent. So that's bad. That's something that should not be happening. And it means like a lot of things there's a lot of info that's flying back and forth in the network really for no reason. 409 ameliorates the issue by creating a system flow between ships A and B, effectively causing B to notify A when, if ever, they install the agent. Until that time, no more packets will be sent. It is worth noting that this is an important step for enabling directed messaging. Directed messaging is an upcoming exciting feature on the network as a default. The release includes support for Quick Boot, Brass Pill, Quick Boot, which is very exciting. You can boot a ship really fast. Changing it from minutes to seconds. We also enable the spin hint. This allows for ship performance monitoring by visiting this URL. And so you can actually like look at it in action. 409 also enables stateful UrWASM, which is an improvement to the stateless UrWASM capabilities shipped in 410. And then breaking changes. So let me look into those real quick. So this hey, I've got show notes here, and so I will link to these, and you can browse this at your leisure. But this is what I was talking about, the Kick-Resub Loop network congestion. So there's the Kick-Resub Loop. There is stateful UrWASM update, and then the spin hints performance monitoring. Let's take a look at those. I'm realizing it might be a while till we get to the tips for fixing the things. And so I'll put in chapter markers for when we actually get to my fixes for 409K if I have to make them, and tips for troubleshooting the updates. Okay. I think I want to draw you a picture, which ironically, I don't think some activity going on here. Air replacing existing binding, hawk twig. Yeah, so it's trying some things. Trying to activate stuff. Or is it working on it? All right. Rebuilding base. Here, Gall's going to try to revive these things. These desks are agents. Agents, I think. Scrolling down. And then, these are agents in my different desks. Activation failed. Different failures to activate. And we got my bump. So all these are going from 410 to 409. It's still working on it. We'll see if this succeeds. Yeah, let me explain this Kick-Resub Loop. Okay, so we got ship A and we got ship B. Ship A published an app. Ship B is the subscriber. Once ship B downloads the app from ship A, they're going to subscribe, get a subscription going from the publisher. And often what happens is you end up getting into a kind of vicious loop where, like, first of all, like, the publisher will keep on poking the subscriber. We give a little poke whenever there's like an update, but it's like, and they'll do that regardless of if the app doesn't exist, or they had the app at one point, deleted it and disappeared, or I have a feeling if you breach, it probably goes away. But yeah, and so like that's a problem. Like that is like if they do one poke, they'll wait some time and then they'll do another poke. Wait a little bit longer and they'll do another poke and another poke. And on the network, like that's just noise, and that's just constant things happening, and you have hundreds or thousands of publishers and tens of thousands of subscribers. Like that's just going to be way too much happening for nothing, really for nothing. So that's that heavy load. And this can be made worse because it's very easy when you write your program to have the subscriber subscribe to the publisher, and then the publisher ends up like kicking them. And so they'll kick them off the subscription. They'll be like, okay, cool. I'm glad you subscribed. Here's the information. And then I'm gonna kick you off of the subscription. And then the subscriber, if you write it a certain way, they're going to like resubscribe, and then it gets kicked again, and then resubscribed and kicked. You end up getting this loop, an infinite loop that just happens over and over and constantly in the network. That just means ships are sending information, totally unnecessary information, back and forth all the time and constantly. This can cause a problem because every one of these little hits gets added to like the event loop of your computer. And so this can end up like filling up storage space on your server depending on like how much it's happening. Yes, so I had a really slow ship because this was happening. I got a big ol' event loop, and then whenever it tried to snapshot it into an epoch, it would like stall, and then I couldn't like talk to it. Yeah. So that is the kick resubscribe loop, and it has caused it's caused some problems. So the new semantic is it just has like a flow where if there's an interruption there, it's on ship B to tell the publisher, hey, I want more of that stuff. That just like stops the loop until B is ready. Yeah. And so the thought is this is an important step for enabling directed messaging on the network. So back in 4.10, they released directed messaging. Directed messaging is an upgrade to the whole network. Essentially just makes things work really fast. It's worth really diving into it, and it's something that I need to look into a little bit more, but directed messaging is really fast networking. The irony here, well, for context, back in 4.10, they made the appropriate upgrade so that directed messaging was available, but you had to manually start directed messaging on both. If two ships wanted to use directed messaging, you'd both have to turn it on for each other. And that was mainly just for having it out there and doing experiments, because directed messaging speeds up things. So if we leave this whole kick resubscribe loop, or just the whole mess of the publisher constantly talking to any given ship that has ever talked to it or expressed interest in their subscription, this interaction, all of these bounces back and forth, will actually end up going faster. And so you'd have these problems would be way worse. Like this, the loom filling up would happen in a much faster time. So it's really kind of funny. So yeah, we had to get that out of the way to make the directed messaging happen. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We've got some exciting news over here. Looks like Nordus is updating the kids, which is kind of a mirror of base. My moon subscribed to my kids' desk. It's a way that I send out those. So scrolling up. All right, so all these things went through a bump. They were at 4.10, and they were trying to upgrade to 4.09, all in their respective applications. And so it was trying to activate installation for all the different apps that I have, including ones that I don't have active, but I guess I didn't uninstall them. I don't really know what this means, the dozing thing. That activated the install. Then the ones that did have things, they downloading the update for any of these that are working. Finish the download. And then once you have the download, you can do things like compare whether remote is identical to what you have or not. Mostly found that everything is identical. And then we have things like, if it isn't identical, then it'll merge it into the groups, and that succeeded. And then because all that worked out, my base desk is upgraded, I'm pretty dang sure. And then now we're trying to merge that into my kids so that, the moons and things that are subscribed to my base desk for Kelvin updates, they have it. So far, just groups and kids. All right. Still thinking. What else did we have? There is stateful UrWASM. So this will take a little bit of time, so I'm glad we have a moment to talk about it. Much like directed messaging, UrWASM was placed into 410K. Here in 409K, they're upgrading from stateless to stateful. And this is pretty simple, stateless versus stateful. And that is that UrWASM, when you would have it running, if it got interrupted, if you turned off your ship, anything like that, it would just lose all that information. It would get halfway through, turn off your ship, it's just gone, and then you'd have to start it all over. Stateful means UrWASM can be doing something, it can get interrupted, and then it can pick back up where it left off. Makes it more useful, it makes it better, that's pretty simple. UrWASM itself deserves quite a bit of explanation. I know there's articles about it. Maybe I'll get those, I'll link to those, but I was having a discussion, we have the Austin Urbit meetup, and so we were talking about what UrWASM was and what it would be useful for. Just to break it down, I like drawing stuff. All right, so it looks like nordus-mocwyl, my computer, my ship, has upgraded. Let's take a look at VATS just to make sure. And would you look at that? Our new Kelvin version is 49K, and I can check out this base hash here, compare it to what I was told is the official release. And would you look at that? 4ix, the ship that I'm getting my updates from, has given me an actual valid, appropriate 409K update. So I am up to date. I am riding the wave. I am cutting edge. Look at that. Bingo. Total success. That means we can take a look at it. Uh-oh. There was an error while handling the request for UrLinks. All right. UrLinks is a desk. It is an app, and it means that it probably didn't survive. We can actually take a look at UrLink since we're here to UrLinks to discover any issues. So UrLinks, it's currently good for Zeus 410 and Zeus 412. And then, its status, it's suspended till next update. So it's a little bit bonkers because I had it running for 410. I think what I did was I just went in and changed it. So let's give that a shot. So I have Hawk here. And so Hawk is going to make it really easy. Hawk is like my interface to my computer, my Urbit. So I'm going to go into this clay editor. It's going to tell me, be careful. Don't be a ding-dong. There's a list of desks, and I'm going to go to UrLinks, syskelvin, and it looks like that. I think what happened was I downloaded an update for the Kelvin, and then it reverted it back to what it was. And so now I'm going to say, you know what? It's good for 410, and I'm just gonna make a wild guess that it's good for 409. let's YOLO. This is a change, an update to the syskelvin. Fourth one. Reviving UrLinks on load bumped it. So let's go back to my home page, which I linked to my UrLinks. Bingo. That's operating properly. So yeah, that was me manually changing the syskelvin file. So let's see that again. The syskelvin file for UrLinks tells you it's compatible with 409, 410, 411, 412. And so that is what had it make it go ahead of taking it out of suspension and trying it again. Yeah. Okay. Hey, that was useful. I am back. There's a little bit of a break there. So some things on the network was happening. I think I forgot to do. We should have stopped our timer already, so we could clock how long it took for 409K to update on my ship. I guess I would expect it to go faster on younger ships, but I actually don't know. You get like a whole new Urbit while it's running. Like it's an amazing thing. It's been compared to doing open heart surgery on yourself as you're running a marathon. So it's always kind of a little miracle. Yeah, and so we can look at the time. Woo. I don't know. It felt like a standard amount of time, which it takes a little bit to do all that stuff. Not a blazing fast process. It's a pretty major thing. Okay, back to like my quick little explanation of UrWASM. So this is Urbit plus WebAssembly. What's going on with that is WebAssembly, it's a really basic language. So assembly is like one of the lowest levels of language that computers can talk. And so eventually all the languages and code that you would write, it would make its way down to assembly, and that would be the machines are following the instructions. Everything breaks down into assembly. I guess sort of like the knock level. So WebAssembly it's sort of a standard that has come out in the web, and so languages can choose to make it a target that it compiles to, so it can boil down the languages down into WebAssembly. That makes it kind of a lingua franca, a common language for all these things to run in the browser. So you can take code that you write in Python, you can boil it down to WebAssembly, and then you can run it in the browser. And it means that a lot of languages have chosen to make their languages capable of doing that. Having this Urbit and WebAssembly means your Urbit can interpret WebAssembly. So I was trying to think of an analogy for this. It's almost like, I'm speaking English. If you were to give me French, you try to communicate with me over French, I wouldn't be able to do whatever instruction you were trying to tell me because I can't interpret French in my head. If WASM is French, basically we've had somebody, I should really pull up their name, but somebody instructed Urbit on how to interpret WebAssembly, and now you can give it the instruction of WebAssembly and it can execute it. And that is very cool. Probably the biggest door from outside Urbit into Urbit that has yet to been created. And so we were talking about this in the Austin Urbit meetup recently, or yesterday. I was a little bit confused about what the big purpose is for it. And I think what we ended up landing on is the really big deal here is that now you can take, as anybody who's ever worked in Python, like it's really nice to be able to import libraries that do useful things, like import NumPy or something. So there's these libraries that have already been created, and it's like before UrWASM, you'd have had to rewrite all of it in Hoon or in like the Urbit specific language. But like, why do all that work again? That doesn't really make sense. So being able to now utilize those libraries, if it's going to be useful for your project, you just bring in that library, compile it to WebAssembly. Your Urbit can now interpret that. So libraries is like one of the biggest unlocks. The other is like jets. So jets, it's a way to make things go faster. I'll just say that. Before, if you had to write the libraries yourself and say you needed a specific part of that library to be really fast, like it happens to be really slow on Urbit, you would have to write a jet. It's like more work that you would have had to do. But with having this like WebAssembly language, you can end up writing jets for just making WebAssembly go fast. And so if you can make WebAssembly go fast and you boiled everything down into WebAssembly, well, now you have this kind of much more general jets. And so basically this just like replaced a whole bunch of man hours that would have otherwise been required for a lot of things. Now you can bring in a library and it'll probably be pretty fast. That happened in 4.10. As a reminder, we count down. So started at 500K and we're just ticking down. So the previous upgrade was 4.10. Now we're at 4.09. 4.10 when UrWASM became available on Urbits. And 4.09 has made it from being stateless, where we could lose what we're working on, to now being stateful. So it's even more useful and rugged. One of the other things, we had the spin hints. This now lets your Urbit at the different interfaces to see what it's doing. So you get to see this like performance monitoring. Let's take a look at that. Oh, of course, I have to be logged in. Okay, so if you go to the URL that they say you can end up seeing essentially just actions happening. Like, oh, here's a scry going. Hawk Twig just did something. Ames called something. We got some pokes. We got some on watch. And it's just a log. It's just constantly happening. You can see the scrolly bar. Just this is more of a novelty for you to see. But what it means is Urbits now have a way to log and speak outside of itself to essentially say how well something is going on, performance monitoring, and that's going to be a big deal for hosts, people who are hosting ships. Now the Urbit can let you know what's happening inside of it. Before, Urbit was just kind of a black box, and you couldn't really tell anything except for whether it was like filling up storage space or not. And so now it can talk to us. In trying to see spin a little bit more, when you come to the release notes, you can see the specific changes that have come in. And so we have these like spin hint things. And so we can actually see what mocwyl Winrux did. Messing around with this stuff. We can look at the files. Sometimes this is like helpful for me to understand kind of what's happening. I mean, one, I don't understand what's happening, but I can see now that we have spin hints, you can see what ends up getting printed out. So usually this is kind of a statement of like a printout. You'll end up seeing the text load arvo, peek arvo. In this part of the code, you got to poke arvo. Let's see. We saw call, take, load, scry, all these different things. Yeah. So now the spin hint is just kind of all over. And as your Urbit's just like churning through things, it will spit out these little hints to basically give information on the outside to improve things. It's like most of the things here in the 409K, it's laying down groundwork for upcoming improvements, like kind of obvious improvements that just have needed to happen for a while. But the thing that I don't have listed here is the quick boot. Quick boot is really neat. If you already have a running Urbit, that's not a big deal. But being able to make a new planet, boot it up from scratch really quickly, that opens up new possibilities, much more kind of like an Urbit on demand, where it's like, oh, I need a brand new Urbit right now, and I need it to do something. Like that quick boot makes that happen. I think this becomes really interesting if you could run an Urbit like in a browser session. If the browser could run an Urbit, you could do things like boot up a brand new ship, it handles that browser session, and then when it closes, and it's like gone. Just kind of this more ephemeral, faster paced bringing up of not previously existing Urbits. Yeah, so that's quick boot. Yeah, let's get into like tips for surviving updates in general. This page, again, there's a link down below and you can look this up. Top thing to understand is the difference between updates to the binary or the runtime or var versus Kelvin or Urbit or Arvo updates. So what I've done here is update my Urbit. It is a Kelvin update. Or known as like an Arvo update. And that is my Urbit is now changing. And you make that change inside of the dojo. But there's another kind of update, and that's called var, or the binary or the runtime. So I'm going to take the time to exit. You can pop it up over here. So if this is my ship, for nordus-mocwyl, you would type in the command next. And then it would check the var update and see var 4.0, or the binary runtime is 4.0, and I'm up to date. The first thing to know, there's two different things that need to get updated. If your runtime isn't up to date, it will block the Kelvin update. I actually personally ran into an issue with that. When I was trying to update my star to 409, I had this issue where I got 409K, it downloaded it, but it was blocked because the binary wasn't up to date. I exited my Urbit, I ran next and got the new var, and then whenever I showed up, my Urbit ended up not knowing that I needed 409, and so it just like didn't do anything until I changed my OTA source. So like I switched to Zod and then went back to whoever I was talking to before. I can't remember. I had to like toggle my OTA source. Actually, this is making me think, if you do have problems with 409K, and if you want to like share your story about it, you can make a comment here. We can see what we can do. If you do have a big serious problem, though, I would recommend that you go to Urbit and like open up an issue, and you could share what the issue is, and we can recommend that after the fact. But yeah, that's my top advice. The next thing is, very often, and I had to do this a lot in the 410K update, was that I had to suspend a lot of desks. I think that's less of an issue now, but before I just could not do 410. So I ended up suspending everything but the base desk because it was getting kind of silly. So that looks like suspend Erlinks. You do it. You can even verify with VATS Erlinks. There it is. It's suspended. When you do that, and every time you hit that suspend, the update will try to happen again. And so if you have multiple desks that are blocking you, you'll just have to keep on doing it. You can exit and then come back. But that's it is kind of a whole thing. But when you get to the end, you can try to revive Erlinks. It looks like it was revived. It is running again. All right, another really helpful thing, and I think this is worth another video, just like general Urbit hygiene, but there are things like roll and chop commands. So that's helpful stuff. I should really get into these in another video, but that's kind of general hygiene. That's not necessarily relevant to the 409K update. I'll try to clean this up for you. That was the only issue that I had in 409K. But yeah, no, it's smooth. There's a lot of great new stuff. It's getting ready for the good that is coming. It's an exciting update, although maybe I guess like a subtly exciting one. Yeah, that's all. Looks like I've got other things to talk about, but I am glad my Urbit is good to go. All right, see you next one. Bye.